Dearest Genshin player, this is a reminder from your government to go outside and touch some grass. The beloved Dendro Archon Nahida is back for another rerun. Here's an all-encompassing updated guide on this amazing, yet slightly misunderstood character, all in under 10 minutes. I'm starting an individual character guide series to concisely deliver everything you need to know about any given character to be successful with them, nothing more, nothing less. I will also continue the in-depth breakdowns on specific teams that I recommend, complete with rotation guides and such, in the team guide series that I've already started. I apologize for abruptly pausing uploads for the past couple months or so, as I've been quite busy with some IRL stuff. I do intend to upload quality content much more consistently from now on, so please subscribe. Arigato. Aight, it's Nahida time. Nahida's E-skill marks enemies for 25 seconds, aka an entire rotation in most cases. You can either tap it to apply the mark quickly, or to hold it to mark enemies further away. When you trigger an elemental reaction against a marked enemy with any of your characters, Nahida will deal damage and apply Dendro to every marked enemy. This ability is 90% of Nahida's kit. Nahida's burst grants your on-field character with an EM buff that scales with the EM of whoever has the most EM on your team. You don't always need to worry about specifically building for this, as many Dendro teams naturally have one full EM character anyway. Using Nahida's burst also grants herself with minor buffs according to the elements of her teammates. These are bonuses only and not a factor to be considered during team building. Level both the E-skill and the burst, as they will make Nahida do more damage. You can crown them if you want. The normal attack can stay unleveled as they do not contribute significantly to Nahida's damage. 4-piece Deepwood, that's it, don't bother with anything else. Nahida can reliably apply the set's effect to every enemy regardless of their position, in a way no one else can. While you can theoretically relegate the Deepwood set to another teammate and give Nahida a more damage-oriented set like Golden Troop or Gilded Dreams, it's just not worth it. Please just keep Nahida on Deepwood. You can mix and match between EM, Dendro damage bonus, and crit main stats on Nahida. Just choose whichever combination has the best stats on your account. Aim for as much EM and crit as you can for substats. The more total stats, the merrier. Also aim for around 120 to 140% energy recharge, depending on the team and your personal experience. Nahida's energy requirements are always very manageable. All in all, Nahida's build is very straightforward and doesn't change much depending on the team. Nahida's signature lamp is her best weapon in every single situation. It maximizes her damage and gives a small team-wide EM buff. The second best choice on many teams is Wandering Evenstar, which has an EM main stat and provides a team-wide attack buff. If you have neither of the buffing weapons, or if Wandering Evenstar's passive isn't useful for your team, just choose the best personal damage weapon, which for many people would be the Witsith or another 5-star. If you have literally nothing else, Magic Guide is a free 3-star weapon that everyone has. Nahida is a Dendro character, which means that she will pretty much only want to be played with Hydro, Electro, and occasionally Anemo characters. She is an optimal choice in most Dendro teams, thanks to her ultra-wide Dendro/Deepwood coverage and off-field damage. Here are her best use cases. This is one of the best Dendro teams in the game. It does ludicrous damage in AoE thanks to quadratic scaling BatChested, and still slaps enough in single target, especially with the correct teammates. The general Nilou team structure I recommend is a defensive Dendro character, plus a damage-dealing Hydro character. It is the most adaptable and practical team variant in my opinion. I don't prefer Kokomi as the healer here, unless you're smoking the 3 to 4 cost speedrun Copium. It is fine of course, just don't expect it to perform better than the other options. Outside of Nilou Bloom and that one Baiju Signer team that the Signer mains are already well aware of, Nahida is tied to Shinobu in all of her other good teams. It's not that Shinobu does anything spectacular, it's just that the other options don't do anything, and Shinobu can do everything they do and at least provide healing, and apply more Electro, and have access to better weapons if you care about that. This is probably the overall best Dendro team in the game. It usually just does more damage than any other option, has fantastic adaptability against all enemies and Abyss layouts, and doesn't take all your Hydro characters. Furina is of course the best as the Hydro slot, but Yelan and Xingqiu also work great. And no, you don't need Prototype Amber and Nahida if you use Furina. It's a myth. Shinobu heals enough. No bitch Hydro characters? No worries. Swap Shinobu onto 4-piece Instructor and use Fischl or Yaya as the last slot. Fischl loses A-Force with a Dendro on-fielder, but she also takes no field time and can hold Elegy. Yaya just does more damage, Lamau. They function effectively the same. This team catches up to the double Dendro Hyperbloom variants without Farina by stacking EM buff and having good artifacts. If you are a new player and Nahida is one of your first 5 stars, this is a great place to start. Nahida significantly improves the Poverty Hyperbloom core to the point where it's actually recommendable in my opinion. Nahida applies Dendro more consistently and does more damage than Kale and DMC combined. You can do double Electro to start because it's cheap and accessible, and upgrade to any of the previously mentioned teams from there. Double Hydro Hyperbloom is also an option, and a quite popular one at that. I don't like it. It uses a disproportionate number of highly contested off-field units to justify what it does. TLDR, it's worse than both other Nahida teams that I've mentioned and other double Hydro teams while taking up 2 strong team cores. You can try it if you appreciate its relative ease of use and already have an established team for the other half that doesn't need Hydro characters. While Nahida is not technically optimal for this team, she is an underrated option and works quite well thanks to Instructor Shinobu. Kazuha's grouping and personal damage is very OP against AoE content. You'll find this team very comfortable to play and do very well in multi-target scenarios even at piss investment. Quick tip, use Shinobu's burst to rapidly apply Electro and overwhelm Nahida's Dendro app to guarantee an Electro swirl right after. If you enjoy Burgeon, you are based. But you also know better than anyone that it's aggressively mediocre and unconditionally worse than Hyperbloom, Nilou, or anything along those lines. You can play full EM Toma, C6 Bennett shenanigans, Kazuha Pyro Absorb, or I don't know man. Burning and energy economy are fundamental problems with the archetype that severely limit its capabilities. Burn Vape and Burn Melt are also a thing, and Nahida is the best Dendro character for those teams. However, burning is never the best option for any character, and it's more gimmicky than recommendable in my opinion. Don't pull Nahida for Neuvillette or Risley expecting an upgrade. C1 makes her Dendro tick faster in Nilou teams. C2 makes all of her teams involving Quicken and Bloom do roughly 20% more damage, and C6 gives her 5 hits of friend-loaded on-field damage that do like 100k each. She is a complete character at C0, but also has pretty decent constellations if you are interested in vertical investment. I personally have her at C2 to maximize my Alhaitham's damage. While Nahida does have a decent selection of great teams, the list isn't actually that expansive. She enables cheap Hyperbloom to do decent damage early game, but truly shines in the few premium Quick Bloom, Spread, and Nilou teams late game. Nahida is not a universal support by any means, and is not a must-pull for most accounts. I recommend her for new players seeking to do cheap damage early game, as well as those that are interested in playing Nilou, Alhaitham, or similar characters long term. That is where she excels and enables some of the best teams in the game. Good luck on your pulls and building Nahida if she's right for you. See ya.